Our second presentation rotates around things that we can do. First of all, there are absolutely necessary parts. At least to get a sense of what's going on, we should be able to display characters or lines of text on the console, and also be able to ask the system to give us input. So input, output is just a basic need. Without going into much detail, further on, yes, going into more detail. But for now, this is a little piece from the book that demonstrates the use of input and output. Let's walk through this program. Observation number one, it does not contain a declaration of a package as we did. So apparently the author said, oh, okay, let's not obscure anything with the package declaration, but it could be there. So in particular sample, there is no package declaration, which means that there is no package, and there's no need to type hw2 dot main class when you try to run it, and that's okay. But most programs nowadays prefer to use package names. Import. Import is a statement that tells Java compiler our intent is to use certain objects from the library which are not automatically imported or brought into our executable environment unless you state, you have this import statement. So this statement is just a message to the compiler. If we intend to use something and you're becoming confused because you don't know what it is, we'll make sure to look up this part of the library and check it there. Is it there? Yes, then that's what we want, right? So this is just essentially disambiguation of what we are going or not going to use. And professional programmers prefer to keep import statements to a minimum to keep everything clean. But you can have a lot of import statements in your program. All familiar public class, and the name is different. It's called invoice app. By the way, the Java convention is to name your classes starting with uppercase character and using essentially uppercase character for every noun or every word that would be encountered in your name. And typically, an attempt to use space in this name would be illegal. Identifiers cannot have spaces. Next, we have all familiar main method, which makes this class runnable. So they can be loaded, and it's public main, and it can be run as we did before. Then we have some comments explaining to us what this program intends to do. And it intends to print line and say something. That's fine. That's going to be printed. Then it's going to say print line with no parameters. So there's no familiar, quote unquote something. It's just an empty set of parentheses. This is still called into print line, which is an overloaded method with parameters or no parameters. In this case, it simply displays a blank line. Then we're going to say create a scanner, and we're going to obtain a scanner, and that scanner is helpful in getting information from the keyboard. We will have a separate set of separate week, I think, dedicated to using scanner and other ways to input information to your Java program, and we're going to be using scanner quite extensively. The scanner in itself is just a facility that allows us to have a certain interface to our keyboard. But the core representation of standard input device, such as keyboard, is actually the system in. Remember system out that we use with print statements? Out represents standard output. System in represents a stream of character input, a standard input device. By default, the keyboard. However, the information can be redirected from a file. So the file could be becoming your input stream for the future. And then we begin to use in this program, we create a variable, and we initialize it. And then we store, essentially we tell our scanner to get a floating point value and store it in a variable, and the variable gets created at this point. I know this is a lot, but this is not an intent to explain the syntax or make you comfortable with this. But this is the natural kind of set of things to expect in the program, right? Some print statements. Then apparently, if we want to get something from the user, we need to do an extra step to create a scanner, a very straightforward way of doing it. Then we can use scanner to get values. The values get stored in something we call variables. Then we can create more variables, and then we can do computations with them, and we can finally, display the result, something like that. So if you recall, uh, anything that we did in our CIS 123 class, we mentioned structured programming. So this is classical example of that structural programming approach, where you have some logic, even attempting to do some arithmetic. But first you have to deal with input, then you do your math, and then you display the output. So input comes from the keyboard, output goes to the console device. So there you go. We're going to wrap it up just at this point, and on Thursday we're going to then perhaps give it more detailed consideration.